All right, Julian, can you hear me? I want to make sure someone can hear me. Julian, you might be on mute if you're around.
I tested it earlier.
With him? Okay. All right. Well, oh, there he is. Julian, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry.
All right. Fantastic. All right. Well, welcome to our December 28th Queen City Toastmasters meeting. Julian, you are joined by 4 esteemed Toastmasters and the family of Harvey. So I am your Sergeant at Arms, Jamie Richardson, and I now call this meeting to order. This is my last meeting as Sergeant at Arms, so I couldn't go out without a daily fact. And so on this day, in December 28th, the French clothing tie-dye, not tie-dye, clothing dye manufacturer, Jolie Belin, or Jolie Belin, my French pronunciation is a little off, you may have to correct me, in 1849 invented the dry cleaning service accidentally. So he took a lamp full of oil and turpentine and spilled it on his clothing, and all of a sudden noticed the cleaning properties of those two chemicals mixed together. And so started a whole industry. And so as we talk about our theme today of resolutions, I thought a good resolution for all of us to keep in mind is to be open and welcoming of happy accidents in the new year. You never know what they might turn into. So with that, I will turn it over to our president and Toastmaster, David Jones.
Thank you. And like Jamie, tonight will be my last meeting as president. And it's been 12 months. My term's over and the club's still here, so I guess I did okay. But there's only 5 of us, so I don't know about that. And when I started as president 12 months ago, we were struggling as a club because of the pandemic. We were only on Zoom, and that was my main goal as president, is for us to get back in person, be on Zoom, and it was great. In the beginning, it was just me. For like 3 weeks, I was the only person here, and everybody else is on Zoom. And then Ali showed up, and it was Ali and I for like 3 weeks in a row. And then different people started showing up, and then people like Jamie showed up. And although it was a skeleton crew and it didn't look that great, he must have seen something, because he joined, and then Stuart, and then everybody else has joined since then. So it's been great. And I'm looking forward to retirement. No, I'll be a Sergeant of Arms, or not Sergeant of Arms, immediate past president. So I'll be hanging out for a while. Now, as Toastmaster, my theme for tonight is New Year's resolutions, but it's not what you all think. See, as a club, we have to operate together as individuals. So like, I'm an area director and I oversee 4 clubs, but they're all corporate clubs. And those corporate clubs, the companies pay for their dues, and you have to show up because your boss is there, your coworkers are there, your peers. But here we're all individuals of different types, different careers, different everything, but we make it work. And that's part of the New Year's resolution that I'm going to get to in a second, is what we have to do as a club. Like last week's meeting was great. I thought it was our best meeting ever. It was me talking about the spring contest, but then the 5 of us just sat around talking, inspiring each other, talking about life goals ourselves. It was a wonderful thing. And that's what's great about the club, is that we're all equal in the club. We all pay $150 a year. And so we're all very equal, even though we have different roles. But yesterday, Elvis reached out to me, our vice president of education, and he wanted to know if we should cancel tonight's meeting because nobody had signed up. And I looked and I said, well, Dr. Harvey signed up, so we're going to have a meeting to support him. And then yesterday when we had our group chat, I was just sitting back watching. I didn't really get engaged, but I saw everybody talking and filling roles and doing this and that. And I thought that was a great way the club should operate. And that's really how it is. Now, that goes to the New Year's resolution. And I'm not talking about our New Year's resolutions, because most people's resolutions are to eat better, to get in shape, stop smoking, stop drinking. But a lot of it is also personal development. And it's my belief that, especially now with things turning around and people being in person, we're going to get a lot of people that are going to come to Toastmasters. Their New Year's resolution is going to be public speaking. Let me to come to Queen City. So I'd say January, we need to be prepared to welcome a lot of visitors and guests. And that's where all of you come into play, because it's not just the officers, it's anybody who just walks up to somebody and says, hello, welcome, you came to the right place, and makes them feel comfortable. And that's my challenge to everybody who here and who will be watching in the future, hopefully. But we should just be prepared to support all those individuals who are going to be scared to death walking in here with their New Year's resolution. And that is it. And I'm going to start with our mini role people, but we're going to start with our inspirational speaker. So please welcome Toastmaster Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests, if they are here somewhere. I'm Eric Laxer, and I'm going to give our inspirational message of the day. Has anyone here ever heard of Dr. Norman Vincent Peale? Yes? Anybody else? Well, he was a doctor of theology, and he worked as a pastor in New York City for over 50 years. He advocated several things for personal improvement. And in 1952, he published a book called The Power of Positive Thinking. And his philosophy was that this was a practical guide to mastering problems of everyday living. His advice and philosophy was based on a mixture of faith-based and practical information. And basically, he felt that the way we think can have a major impact on the way we feel, and the way we feel can have a major impact on our actions and how we conduct our everyday lives. He advocated that the more calm and peaceful our minds can be, the more we can think positively and let go of anger and interact with other people, the more likely we were to be successful in life. And one of the things that he talked about was to picture yourself succeeding in life. His book endured criticism from people who were both his peers and also people in medicine and psychiatry. But what's very interesting about what he advocated is that years later, modern science has shown that a lot of what he spoke about had some basis in actually biology. And that if we exist in an environment where stress is elevated, our stress hormones, including cortisol and adrenaline, increase. Whereas if we can focus on having a calm and peaceful mind and not struggling or interacting with people in a negative way, those hormones go down. And basically health issues like high blood pressure, strokes, heart attacks, anxiety, depression are reduced when we can focus our mind the way he advocated for. And today, leading medical centers such as Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and Mayo Clinic actually support a lot of what he was talking about. So my one ask or recommendation is, as we go into the new year, and if we're looking for some form of resolution or resolutions, is that we focus on some of these things that allow us to maintain a calmer and peaceful mind and outlook. And some examples of that, some examples that we can follow include things like taking deep breathing or meditation breaks during the day, smiling. It's actually been shown that even if you're not unhappy and you force yourself to smile, that hormones that make you feel happy go up in your blood. He also talked about maintaining good relationships with people, our friends and our family, and reframing stressful situations. An example of that is if you're stuck in traffic and you're frustrated, instead of focusing on the frustration of being in traffic, that you take the time to listen to music that you like or a podcast you enjoy, and you take that stressful experience and you turn it into a more calming experience. So we have Dr. Norman Peale to thank for those approaches, and I hope everybody can manage a little bit of that in the new year. I will now turn it back to Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, sir. Hold on. Here's Andre. I believe it was Dr. Norman Vincent Peale that said, what the mind of man can believe and conceive, it can achieve. Is he the one that said that? Yeah, I think he's the one that said that. Okay, maybe. Right. Next up is going to be our timer, and we have him online. So please welcome Toastmaster Julian.
Hey everyone, good evening. I know we have a limited group tonight, but I will still be timing whatever needs to be timed. So I will be timing the prepared speech that Dr. Harvey's doing. It'll be 5 to 7 minutes, and you'll have a grace period of 30 seconds at the end. Impromptu table topics will be 1 to 2 minutes, and with that 30-second grace period. And then the evaluations will be 2 to 3 minutes with that grace period. And I think everyone knows how the colors work, but I'll do the backgrounds, green, yellow, and red. And hopefully it works out okay on Zoom. I know the speaker will probably be looking at the laptop, so that should be good. And I can also hold up a timer as well in the camera. So anyway, that's it. And back to you, Toastmaster.
Okay.
David.
Yeah, I think your background is good. It
Okay.
shows clearly, so that's good. And then next up is going to be our grammarian. Again, that's Dr. Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and possible guests. I'm Eric Laxer. I will be your grammarian this evening. My role as grammarian is to listen carefully to everybody's speech, to identify good phrases and areas that we can improve our speech, and also to identify filler words such as and, so, like, well, I'd also like to introduce the word of the day. The word of the day is resolution. The definition of resolution is it is a firm decision to do something. And an example is I made a resolution to get up early and exercise. So I'm sorry for being a little bit bland, but it was too tempting to pass up based upon the time of year and our theme. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. And let me see, before I introduce our guest, I want to get it ready so we're going to do a share screen for Dr. Harvey so he can share screen with us. So hold on a sec. All right, so our one and only speaker tonight is going to be Dr. Harvey. It is from the Mastery presentation, and it's called The Secret of Making New Year's Resolutions Work for You. Please welcome Dr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. President, David. Before giving this speech, I'd like to recognize my wife, Helen, and also Hannah. Thank you for being here to support me. Thank you for making my life happen and for our success. It's all because of you both. Thank you. And also, greeting fellow Toastmaster on online as well. Very appreciative to have you here with us. Now, we all have our New Year resolution. Doc, can you share with us one of the New Year resolution you made in the past? I can tell you focus on relationship based on what you just shared with us on family and also relationship with other people. How about you, David? Excellent. Keep that up. And the secret to writing is just to write. Don't focus so much on thinking and reflecting, but more writing. How about you, Jamie? What is your New Year resolution? Okay, great. So as you all can tell, also Andrea and Julian, you can see that many of us made countless resolution over the years. I myself made many resolutions over the year to get six-pack abs. That was back in the day when I was much younger, or to achieve certain level of success, this and that. But I noticed that by the time that January or February roll around, even if I wrote down my New Year resolution, that paper is lost. It's nowhere to be found. I would forget about it. And I would imagine that it's true for 95% of the population. Else, we would all achieve glorious success from our New Year resolution. So the question that I like to ask in this speech is, how can we ensure that our New Year resolution works for all of us? Because I truly believe that there are secrets to ensure that it's become a success. Now, in my speech, I'll share with you a story, and then from that story, I'll pick out 4 principles that I strongly believe you can apply to your life to make New Year 2022 the most glorious success of all the year. And as David mentioned, we'll have new members. People will start to show up more. Now, I bow down to all of you from online and also here for showing up. It just tells me your character, the level of motivation that you are. And I appreciate you all from the bottom of my heart and my soul, even for the one who's not here. Family obligation, New Year plan, traveling, so on and so forth. But next year, whoever come to Toastmaster, I want to make sure that we help assist their resolution to make it come to fruition. Doesn't matter what their goal is. I want to make sure we open up our Rolodex, our support to help all members to achieve all of our dreams. We want to make sure that we follow our leader tradition, making this club the best club in the history of Toastmaster, hands down, with the most number of people who achieve glorious success. So my story goes back to medical school at ECU, East Carolina. Are you guys familiar with East Carolina? Go Pirates! The school is notorious for partying. There's no school that has as much party as ECU. I graduated from Chapel Hill, did my master at Columbia University in New York, but at East Carolina, I had the most fun because even as a medical student, nobody partied like me. Every single week, at least twice, we would go onto one of the street. I forgot, I recall the name, but there's just so many club and me and my friends. And that's the Asian crew there, especially the Hmong kid. Like they live in the mountainside in Laos, in Vietnam. Now they come here, they're second or third generation. So I met Joe. Joe Hang and me, we're best friends. I spent more time with him than any of the professors back in medical school. And every weekend, me, Joe, and Fanta, we would host party at his apartment. There's this big beer with the keg. We would hold each other legs up and drink from like a little pipe. And then we play beer pong. We had this African gray parrot that I own. I put it on my shoulder and it started to mimic like human noise and sound. The guy was elated. They loved the African gray. Joe put the African gray on his hat. He has this little like back in the Victorian era hat. It pooped on him. The African gray ended up pooping on him. So at that time, Joe he's very skinny. As you can see from the slide. Oh, we lost one of the picture. But anyhow, Joe was much more skinny than me during the time. He was around 125 pounds. That was Joe. And then a couple years later, after graduation, Joe changed his life completely around. He stopped focusing on partying. He started to hang out with a new crew. And this is a picture of his friend. Okay, right here. So here's a picture of his friend. And this is Joe right here, Asian guy with the bald head. So I asked Joe, what made the transformation? What happened to all the New Year resolution, all the stuff that we spoke about? All the other years in college, in med school, I never see anything happen to us. We always default back to how we were, out of shape, but always partying and not really taking serious about our life and our career. So Joe said that he started to hang out with different group, with people who are different looking from him. As you can see from that picture right there, those guys, they look like Julian. They are power lifter. They look exactly like Julian. So his friends starting to show Joe how to eat, how to lift. And this is not in the gym, the usual bench press. The power lifter, the Olympic lifter, they do completely different exercise, as Julian can tell. And those guys, they are powerhouse. So when I met Joe again, Joe said he gained 40 pounds of muscle. I mean, his leg is the definition. And Joe is just, the transformation is 360. So during that time, you are who you hang out with. And I did not look like Joe. When I met Joe, I was so out of shape. My leg was just dark, was just so skinny. When I went to Grandfather Mountain, climbing down, my leg was just like shaking. That's how bad out of shape I was. But when I reconnected with Joe, Joe brought me into the gym, showed me how to work out, taught me how to eat, showed me the philosophy and practice. And as you can see from this picture right here, it does not show like the other picture as well, but I completely turned ripped. I mean, the muscle definition, I become even bigger than Joe and stronger than Joe. Because once I'm into something, I just work like a crazy man from my business, from exercise. So I started to do a lot of the pull-up, did the exercise that Joe told me or taught me, but then I evolved and kind of focused more on body weight, climbing tree, throwing big rocks. You're talking about big, huge boulder rock. So at that time, I was curling 140 pounds, Julian, 140-pound curl, and undefeated in arm wrestling. even with the professional like Julian, I was never defeated. So, in that story, the biggest transformation for me was who I hang out with, and that was Joe. Joe made the difference. And when we set goal, we want to be as strong, as robust as humanly possible, but I'm much more ambitious than Joe. So when I always imagine myself as one of the ancient Vietnamese like general, back in the time, the guy that defeated Genghis Khan, those guys that work on rock, that work on the pyramid sphere, they're just like the Viking hammer. So you need tremendous strength to work with that. So I surrounded myself with Joe. I set very high expectation. I changed my environment, changed the people I associate with. And also, just reiterating from that story, my wife, she gave me the time signal, which threw me off. My apology. I appreciate you, Helen. So the three key principles for you to make this New Year resolution work is this. Change is hard, it's tough, but you have to make change. Doing things that you always been doing, you're going to achieve the same result. No New Year resolution will work if you don't change your friends, your environment, sometimes even your family. Sometimes there are toxic family members that pull you down. You need to distance yourself. You need to carve your own path. Set your goal high that you cannot achieve in this lifetime. Raise your self-image. Fellow Toastmaster, thank you so much for your precious time. I hope that 2022, this new year will be the most transformative new year for you. Thank you so much for your precious time.
Awesome speech. Thank you. All right. And can we get a timers report?
Yeah, so we had the time at 9:15, which is a little bit over, but we don't have any other speakers, so
Yeah. He had a lot to say. He had a lot of thoughts to get out, and that's
great speech.
great.
So
Yeah. I mean, once you go over the 7.5 minute mark, just keep going, finish your thoughts. So what the heck? So
I'm ready to arm wrestle.
yeah. Yeah. We'll videotape it. I don't know you well, but I'll put money on Julian. He's kind of a big guy. All right. Next up, we're going to do our table topics. And for that, we have Toastmaster Jamie.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. So as the table topics master, my role is to ask a series of unscripted questions that gives all of our members an opportunity to practice their impromptu speaking. These questions will be based on tonight's themes of resolution. Did you catch that, Grammarian? Each speaker will have 1 to 2 minutes to provide a response. As Julian said, you'll have an extra 30 seconds on the back end of that. But if you stay within that time frame, then you'll qualify. That we're not doing ballots tonight, obviously. So I would love to see if we have any initial volunteers for a table topic. All right, I've got one here in the room. I'm pretty much going to go around to everybody because these are all my favorite table topic speakers. All right, Eric is joining us. So I'll ask the question and I'll pass you the mic. So Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, formerly or now Meta, is known for his New Year's resolutions. He's famous for them. He refers to them as personal challenges, though. Some examples of it were actually learning to become more effective as a public speaker, but also learning Mandarin was one of his. And my question to you is, if you were a billionaire, what would be your personal challenge?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. That's an excellent question, and I would like that to become a reality so I could really fulfill my challenge. Probably my biggest challenge if I were to become a billionaire would be what to do with the money. There are really so many needs around the world that the wonderful thing about becoming a billionaire would be that you could change a lot of lives. And the first things that come to mind for me are things like hunger, obviously poverty, living conditions. And I think an area that we don't look at enough in today's world is mental health. And there are a lot of people out there that could use support for their mental health. they just don't have access to care. In fact, many of them probably don't even know that potential help could be available to them. So if I had $1 billion, there are a lot of things that I would do, but those would be the things that I would start with. And really the list is endless. And my resolution would be to try to help as many people as I could throughout the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. So I think you took the more altruistic path than perhaps Mark Zuckerberg did. Though you might be interested to know that Mark Zuckerberg actually made a decision, a resolution this year to stop doing resolutions because they got a lot of bad press because they tended to be a little bit more self-motivated, if you will. And so now he's going to focus more on the things that Meta and he personally can accomplish through philanthropy. All right. Do I have another volunteer? How about on Zoom? Andrea? Sure. Good. All right. So your question. So some people actually adopt what's called an anti-resolution instead of a resolution this time of year. And an anti-resolution, for those of you not familiar with it, is a small, simple promise or commitment to yourself of what you'll stop doing. So it's not about necessarily a bold and audacious improvement. It's about something that you'll stop doing. And a good example that I saw as I was reading through this trend that's developed of late is simply going into your email inbox and unsubscribing from any email newsletter that you haven't read in the last 6 months, or any other promotional email that you haven't gotten and received or opened in the last 6 months. So for me, I unsubscribed about 15 emails literally in the 20 minutes before coming over to the meeting. And I figured that saves me 30 minutes a year of just not having to delete those emails each and every day from my inbox. So Andrea, your question is, what is an anti-resolution that you could think might be beneficial in your life in 2022?
Thank you, Toastmaster. I have decided, someone asked this question on Facebook. One of my coaches asked this question actually, and she said, what were you going to do in 2022 for your business? And what would you not let stop you? And so what I will not let stop me is making resolutions that I know I'm not going to keep. I'm going to make a promise to myself that I won't stop me from doing what I have set out to do. Where I want to impact people, I will impact people. If I have to knock on every door, I will do that. If I have to show up with butterfly wings on for people to get that I am the chocolate butterfly, I will do that. But what I will not do is not be Andrea, not be happy being Andrea, not be beautiful being Andrea, not being impactful being Andrea. I will no longer dummy myself down to fit in someone else's view of what I should be or where I should go or how I should do it. I will always be the chocolate butterfly. I will always help others transform their lives, and I will always be impactful. And that is my anti-resolution.
Very good. I love that. Thank you, Andrea. I'm going to stop trying to please others. I'm going to show up and be my authentic self. Thank you. All right. Maybe we have time for one more. Great. Yay. All right, Helen. Of course, I'll ask the question and then I'll hand it over to you. All right, Helen, your question is this. So many people never follow through on their resolutions. You mentioned that earlier in your speech, Harvey. So what is something that you've experienced in your life, or a trick, right, or a tip that's helped you execute on your goals successfully?
Okay, so Helen, do you understand that? Okay, I'm gonna translate for you. Bố sẽ thông dịch cho Trúc, and then you can speak in Vietnamese. I'll translate back. But I want you to get this experience of doing something you fearful. Vietnamese women Andrea tend to stay at home, just focus on the home. But I love my wife. I like my wife to evolve with me as well. Anh Jamie, Sergeant of Arms của Toastmasters nói, họ chúc á, là thường thường người ta có cái New Year resolution, mỗi năm mới họ muốn thay đổi cái gì, nhưng mà thường họ không có làm được. Thì qua tới tháng 1 hay tháng 2 như nãy bố nói á, là họ quên rồi. Thì cái New Year resolution năm mới này Chúc muốn cái gì thay đổi và cái kế hoạch của Chúc làm sao để thành công. You can speak in Vietnamese if you like, Helen. Có thể nói Việt.
Em muốn cái sự khi mà cái năm mới á, em muốn làm một cái gì đó nó thay đổi, giống như là gia đình thay đổi, có thêm thành viên mới, hoặc là bản thân mình chưa làm được cái gì thì mình phải làm để mình tạo cái sự thành công đó cho mình và cho mọi người.
Rồi làm sao Chúc có Helen làm để thành công như vậy? What do you do to ensure that your goal, your resolution become a success?
Thì cái đó là mình phải đặt ra cái mục tiêu của mình và hướng tới cái mục tiêu đó và làm cho thật tốt cái mục tiêu đó.
Giống như là cứ làm, đúng không? Just do it. Okay. So Jamie and also fellow Toastmaster, Helen said that for this new year, she like to increase our family member, to have another kid. As I shared with you, we had Helen had a miscarriage. It was tough for her, but she moved on. Now she look forward, always focus on next time. She want to have another baby for our family to have more members, to be more happy, also to set other goals for our family to achieve. And I asked Helen, how do you ensure that you're going to accomplish that New Year resolution? And Helen said that just to do it. Just write out your goal, make sure it's crystal clear, and just do it. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Harvey. That was lovely. That's a special treat for those of us who joined tonight. All right, we have time. If I've got one more question, if anybody's interested. Julian, you want to do one?
Sure, I will do one.
All right, so this one's probably the most straightforward, and many of us in the room already got asked this, but so what is a New Year's resolution that you've previously made and kept that you are particularly proud of?
All right, resolution I have made that I'm proud of. So I wouldn't say I'm really big on New Year's resolutions. So wouldn't say I do it at a new year. There's certain things that I definitely have gotten into the habit too that are good and I'm proud of. I think one of the biggest things I did last year was, I know, like I think Eric spoke about earlier, is doing breathing work. I think it's important to help you stay calm and just to help you kind of reset sometimes during the day, to do some breathing work. And I started doing, like, it's called Wim Hof, kind of a method for breathing. And I started doing that, I think actually right in 2020, but continued it into 2021. I basically do it every single morning. It's just like a great habit to start the day, and it kind of gets me rolling. So that is that's one thing I'm proud that I have continued to do, because I think it's a really good thing to do. And if you're ever feeling stressed, you can do that in the middle of the day or whenever, and it really helps you relax. So
Awesome. Thank you very much. And I will have to, I didn't catch the name, so I will have to DM you and figure out exactly what that was, because I think it's something I would benefit from as well. All right. Thank you all to all of our speakers. That was a fantastic set of comments, sharing a little bit more about ourselves. So I appreciate those. Oh, timers report, Julian.
yeah, so we had Eric at 1 minute and 3 seconds. We had Andrea at 1 minute 16. It was Helen, right? She was at about 1:15 combined. And then I did not time myself. So hopefully I was over 1 minute, but I'm not sure.
You did. David kept track. Congratulations.
Okay. Good, so everyone qualified.
All right, thank you all. And I will now turn it back to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, sir. Great questions. Appreciate it. Actually, I don't know if Julie remembers, but last year, I don't think none of you are members or here yet, but I was table topics master and I got approval from the people that I did it because last year we had more than 50% of our people were not English, was not their first language. So I did table topics and then I asked, I believe it was Turker, Andrea, another Andrea Ritter, and I forget the other person, but I asked them the same question. I asked them to answer it in their native language. So we had it, one was in Turkey, one was in Spanish, and one was in Iranian. And that was kind of a neat, and I wanted to get the nonverbal just to see how they talked and their emotions and stuff. So it was a really good exercise. Maybe something we can do again in the future because I enjoyed, even though I didn't understand what she said, it was just being able to hear her talk about it and do it. All right, so next up is going to be our general evaluator. And again, that's Dr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. President. As your general evaluator for the evening, my task is to evaluate the evaluator, which is Andre, the chocolate butterfly. I love you and I love you all, and I'm very happy to have you as my evaluator. And the other thing I'm going to evaluate, or rather call on, is the TMOD report, Grammarian report. So with all of that being said, I'd like to return the mic to Andrea for the evaluation.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. It's always a pleasure to evaluate a great speaker, which is Dr. Harvey Tran. Today, I will be, as usual, using the KIDS method, and it means keep, include, skip, and stay. So what I really love and I want you to keep is to keep engaging the audience, grab the audience's attention, and let us know what's important to your life. I was preparing for my speech today and decided not to do it, but I was thinking about the hierarchy of needs. When we are at certain levels, we achieve certain, we go about life we go about life that way. So it depends on what level we're at on that chart, or how we approach life. That's usually how people show up in the transformation. You know, that hit me hard because I'm the chocolate butterfly, of course. So yeah. Going to include the transformation examples. It's kind of include and skip. So include transformation examples, but limit it, and that may take out some of your time so that you don't go over time. So if you focus on maybe 1 or 2 instead of 4 or 5, you may lose your audience in there, and you want to make sure that you keep us engaged because you're a powerful speaker. So we want you to continue to be powerful from beginning to the end. And with that, you brought in a friend. That's why I brought up the hierarchy of needs, that relationship. A lot of people don't create relationships first. They go after money and their basic needs, and they forget that they need those relationships to sustain, even when you don't have the money or the status or the success or the whatever you're reaching for. And what I noticed about you and all of your speeches, that when you have a transformation, it's based on someone that you have a relationship with. So that is why that is so important, that I say you should keep that in there. It should stay in there at all times to talk to what's important to Dr. Harvey Tran. So now we get to know you even better. So with every speech, I've gotten to know you. I've gotten to know about your aunt. I got to know about your family. I've gotten to know about your process in medical school. Who would have known? Well, I guess we should have known that you were a partier, but just knowing that you are a person who is outgoing and has layers. So that is very helpful. So we enjoy your speaking, but make sure you stay focused and stay on point. And with that, I am complete.
Andrea, I appreciate your evaluation. As you correctly mentioned, focus is the key. That's one of my New Year resolution as well, something that I'll always try to work on, and to focus, just making sure that whatever I do in business wise or in a family life or whatever, I want to make sure that I focus on the few, not the many. And I'm going to take that to the next level into the speech as well. Appreciate your wisdom and also insight. Now I'm gonna go ahead and call for the time report for our evaluator, Toastmaster Julian.
Yeah, we were right at, Andrea was right at 2 minutes and 49 seconds. So she qualifies.
Right, now also like to call on our grammarian.
Thank you, Dr. Harvey, and kudos to everybody. I think this meeting illustrates that the quality sometimes is far more important than the quantity, because we're a small group, but I already feel like I've learned so much from today. So to provide my report to the group, almost everybody used the word of the day. And I think, Jamie, you probably get the first prize because you said it multiple times. And filler words, Jamie, you had said so one time. David, you said and twice. Julian, 3 times. Dr. Harvey, you had several ums and so's there. When you gave your speech, a lot of them were hidden. So I would say, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2, most of them just passed very quickly. So just a few of them were recognizable easily. Andrea, you had 5 ums and so's and 1 ands. And I believe that includes everybody with the exception of myself, but I'll be very generous and not comment on my own speaking. So I will send this back to Mr. General Evaluator. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Laxer. Now, next part, I'd like to evaluate our meeting as a whole. I'd like to congratulate all of you for showing up on the 28th. 3 more days into the new year. At this time, people usually spend time with their family, doing traveling, but you still commit to our club. That tells me a great deal about your character, of how you conduct yourself in the workplace, or achieving your goal, your aspiration, your resolution for the new year. You guys are extremely highly motivated. It's like what the good dog said, it's about the quality, not the quantity. And I'm not degrading the people who are not here, because people have other obligations, but I genuinely appreciate all of you for being here. I thought that the meeting as a whole was very well organized. We stay focused, we stay on time. And also all of our grammarian, our timer, our president, presiding officer, sergeant of arms, and also our inspirational master, the dog. Everyone did a phenomenal job. And Helen, I'm very proud of you, Helen. Walking into the unknown is so nerve-wracking, and that's how we grow as a family. That's how you grow as a person. And as we grow more, as we make more, as we achieve more, you can always count on me to always support you through the good time and also the bad time, because I love you and I love our daughter. And I love all fellow Toastmasters, even the one who's not here, the one who's gonna come here. Let me be your servant. Let me be your friend. Let me assist you in achieving whatever New Year resolution that you have. With all that being said, thank you so much, and I'll return the mic back to David.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. That's something I always think about too, is what Dr. Harvey did was all of us know the benefits of Toastmaster. So why are we not bringing our family, our friends, or acquaintances in saying, hey, you should come check this out. And I've had 3 or 4 friends that have shown up over the past year, but it's just something that we should share with others and encourage them to do what he did, and encourage his wife to get outside of our comfort zones and raise our standards. So that was great. And with that, if anybody has anything, we can close out our meeting a little bit early and get ready for the new year. So with that, I call the meeting to a close. Thanks, Julie and Andrea, for showing up. Appreciate it.
Happy New Year.
You too.